What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Nerdwide Podcast, episode 86. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co-host, and the man with a plan this week, Mr. Chris Rivers. Now, Chris, how has your week been? Let me ask you this. Has the overtime been abated, or are we still on it?
We worked it this week. We
Hmm.
had regular hours through the week, but I went in yesterday, so
Oh. Oh, on a
this is
Saturday?
my this is my one day off this weekend.
Oh,
So
gross. Well, you get to spend a time with me. We get to talk about some fun recaps because there was not
right,
really any news this week. So,
no, not much at all.
yeah,
It's
which is weird. I mean, when New York Comic Con was this weekend,
yeah,
which we got, some things related to us, but nothing crazy. We had two new trailers drop, but nothing really big. But one of which we'll watch on the show. But
yeah.
I went on vacation this week. I'm freshly back. I'm not burnt because I don't like
I,
to be burnt. So I,
I
just kind of
thought
sat in the shade, but I really enjoyed it.
I thought you were
Um,
gonna say you were freshly baked.
freshly baked down in Florida. With good old. Never mind. I'm not going there. I was going to say politics, but
Yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Nerdwide Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating on whatever podcasting app you use. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, make sure you leave us a comment. Let us know how we can improve this show. Don't know how to improve it if you don't let us know. If you want to go the extra mile, you guys go to patreon.com/nerdwide. 3 different tiers for 3 different monetary values. A lot of different goodies for each different tier. Of course, you get as each tier goes up, more goodies happen that way. But Chris, I wonder what you've been watching TV wise, if anything different other than She-Hulk this week.
yeah. I mean, we had a couple of shows come back. I think NCIS is back. The
Mm.
Rookie's back with Nathan Fillion, so I've been checking those out.
It's always I love this time of the year when your shows start coming back. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I know Ghost season 2 dropped 2 weeks ago. We still haven't watched any episode yet. But Bachelor in Paradise dropped last week, and we're halfway through the second episode of it because they always do like 2 hour episodes and twice a
Uh-huh.
week. So I'm like, it's hard to get through all of it as we're doing it. I still haven't caught up on House of the Dragon from last week. I did good to catch up on everything this week because we were in Florida. We didn't watch anything until we got back home, and we've been real busy this weekend too. So we stayed up late last night watching things. Um, I'm trying to think. Bachelor in Paradise is probably the only thing that I watched. Yeah, I didn't watch any of my shows, and with me starting my new job, I don't know if I'm going to have the time to watch my shows like I used to, which is kind of depressing. But we'll see what happens. So
Yeah.
we'll see what goes down the road there. But I want to talk about something because we finally had the episode we've been talking about with She-Hulk. Full on spoilers for episode 8 of She-Hulk season 1, which there is a potential of us getting a season 2. It's just not announced yet, based off of one of their tweets, because they called it a season finale, not a series finale. They've been doing that. We really don't know, but they did that with Loki, and we got a season 2 of Loki, which they're filming. So we're thinking She-Hulk might get a season 2, and if so, Chris, I'm all about it. I'm just gonna be
Yeah.
100% because
Yeah.
they've got the formula down for TV shows, and like the perfect amount of cameos, perfect amount of callbacks, the fourth wall breaking, all in on it. Um,
Very good.
Speaking of another thing we're all in on, this episode, absolutely fantastic. I'm going to tvline.com. We'll stop as we go here for the recap with Matt Webb Matovich for the author here. Ahead of next week's season finale, or next week's finale, the episode Ribbit and Rip It opened with the introduction of Leapfrog, aka Eugene Patitilio, a low-tier hero who asked Jen to represent him in a legal action against the designer of his seemingly malfunctioning supersuit. Given that said defendant would be the one and only Luke Jacobson, Jen had personal and professional conflicts, but her boss insisted she handle the case. I love Luke. Like, if he is in every episode from here on out, I am a-okay with it because he is hilarious in everything he's in, like every scene that he's been a part of so far. And I'm like, yeah, especially that he's our Edna mode if you've watched The Incredibles. And he does the super suits apparently for everybody. Even, Leapfrog, Daredevil. Of course, we saw his helmet in the couple episodes ago. And we get confirmation for this episode as well. As it quickly became apparent, Leapfrog's case had no legs, seeing as he had wrongly used jet fuel in his booster, sparking the flame out. This fact was cleanly sniffed out by Luke's lawyer, the one and only Matt Murdock from New York, played again by Marvel veteran Charlie Cox. Afterward, Matt bought Jen a drink at the Legal Ease, where he got her thinking about what she has a unique opportunity to uphold the law as a lawyer, and then seek justice in other ways as a superpowered hero. Though Jen is unaware of Matt's own alter ego, the two spark on multiple levels, but their flirtation is cut short by a business call for Matt Murdock. I thought this was the perfect way to introduce him into this. I was worried that the introduction was going to be from the trailer. We saw him backflip off the car and everything. But no, him walking in with the doors open up and him strolling in and going toe for toe with Jen during the whole lawyer scene was really good, and them going back and forth. They did it later in the episode as well. But I really loved their connection, and this was a different Matt Murdock than what we've seen even from the TV show and even from Spider-Man No Way Home, where he was very serious and very matter of fact. But this one, he was flirty and not compassionate. It's not the word I'm looking for, but endearing and very just right there with Jen. And I was like, yeah, I want these two together. But no future spoilers here yet, Chris. No sooner does Jen arrive home, she gets a call from Leapfrog, who says he is being attacked while driving his car. Jen suits up in her new She-Hulk outfit and meets with Eugene at a parking garage, where she gets to slug it out with his attacker, Daredevil. First off, again, the super suit of hers was chef's kiss perfect. I absolutely loved it. True to the comics as always, but man, she looked really good, and the CGI looked really good this whole episode. Each hero gives as good as they get, and some damage is done to the garage by She-Hulk's smashy ways, but She-Hulk wins up with the upper hand, at which point she unmasks her opponent to discover it's Matt, which I thought this was a very quick way to do it. If usually don't get people unmasked and things until later on, but they just said, let's get this out of the way, let's get this handled, and they did it. I thought it was very funny with them going tit for tat again as their superhero aliases for this. I wish Matt would have said, hello, Jen, it's me. He's in the wrong. This is what's going on. But she really didn't give him the chance, and I thought it was very well orchestrated, the whole fight scene, because, of course, he says he doesn't see through normal ways. He uses his ears like a location, and everything she tried to do, he would have dodge, avoid, things like that. So she Hulk clapped, and it's just a big sound wave, and that's what knocked him out and knocked him away. So I was like, that's very well done to do his powers that way.
Yeah.
Matt explains that, number one, no, he was not pretending to be blind, and number two, Leapfrog is holding Luke hostage, forcing him to upgrade his suit. The two make tracks for Leapfrog's not at all secret lair, where there is some debate about the attack plan. Daredevil's inclined to take on the goons/henchmen one at a time. Hallways are his thing, after all, while She-Hulk is happy to just smash. Hilarious. We got a hallway scene, not in the Daredevil show, because the whole Daredevil, every season, there's always a big hallway scene, and that's one of the big things that's well choreographed and famous. And we had a mini hallway scene here with the Daredevil theme when it happened as well. So very cool from Netflix. After they're back, do it.
There were two things about that little sequence too. First off, his Leapfrog's secret hideaway is a building with lily pad
and all neon lights at the very tip of the top. He goes, yeah, I'm gonna head to my secret lair, the lily pad, and it's just fluorescent lights everywhere.
Yeah, but then before they go in, you got Daredevil telling her that like where everyone's at, and she's like, "How do you know that?" And he said, "I can hear their heartbeats," and then he says, "I can hear yours right now too." And that freaks her out.
Yeah, of course, her starts speeding up, and he said something about a doctor as well. It's just, I loved their chemistry and them going between each other on everything. Yeah. And both actors, Charlie Cox and Tatiana Maslany, were perfect. Like their chemistry on screen was excellent, and I want to see more of it. I don't know if we're gonna get more next episode, but I would like to. I don't think we will because he's probably already back in New York at this point, but. Who knows what happens. After their back and forth leads to a certain intensity between them, Daredevil sets out to take down one bunch of baddies. When a second group comes at him, She-Hulk drops through the ceiling to smash them. Then they enter the lair proper and team up against a final flurry of goons while exchanging legal statements along the way. Again, hilarious. Because she said something like, this is what they'll be charged for. He goes, this is actually what I would do. He goes, you get more time, things like that. It's so funny, man. Once their job is done and Jen has made amends with their Taylor and Luke, Matt and Jen kick back against a billboard. Matt laments that he is heading back to New York in the morning, but rather wait for his next sojourn to L.A. Jen suggests they just hook up now, which they do back at her place after some intricate removal of super suits. Also, hilarious. Daredevil doing the walk of shame out in daylight. Just walk. He'll sit there whistling with no shoes on. I thought that was the funniest thing, and I laughed really hard. But I'm going to be honest here. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't like Daredevil's new suit. I don't like the yellow on red. I know it's the classic one, but to me, I just like the plain black and red. But, to each their own. I get it. I know.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
Yeah,
But I do prefer the red.
Right. So it's what a fun show this has been. But it's not over yet. After we get a big fourth wall scene here. The morning after, as Daredevil does a hilariously supersuited yet barefoot walk of shame through the neighborhood, Jen remarks upon Nikki's arrival for Female Lawyer of the Year gala. Beautification that the episode sure seemed to have reached a satisfying conclusion, so she is puzzled about what is going on now. She even says, "What, is a Red Hulk about to be revealed?" She has to wonder. Just the great fourth wall that everyone's talking about, and that it cracks me up that they filmed this and they knew what people would be talking about. I was like, are we about to get Red Hulk in this episode? I think we might get it for the finale, though. At somehow, some way. Maybe. We'll see. Let's see. The action leaps to the evening's gala where She-Hulk and her Luke Jacobson original struts the carpet, but when Jen is later called up on stage, along with several other Female Lawyer of the Year winners, they put in quotations, her speech is interrupted by the intelligentsia's takeover of the video screen backdrop, where they project an anti-Chic Hulk retort, including a slut-shaming hidden camera video of Jen's hookup with Josh. Triggered by this vile attack and against nearby Mallory's Don't Do It advisement, She-Hulk lashes out the video screen and Hulk smashes it, sending all the attendees into a panic and evacuation. She then is left to stand there, surrendering herself to cops, sheepish and rightly mortified. Again, not cops, it was DODC. And that ends our penultimate episode. I'm trying to go to this Reddit here for...
There's one thing that the recap that you read left out, and I'm blank. Oh, what's her assistant's name?
Nikki.
She comes out. She's ready to get her. She's going to get her ready for the gala.
Mm-hmm.
And when she jumps out, she's got all these brushes and stuff in between her.
Oh yeah, it looked like Wolverine.
Well, and then that's what everybody was saying, that they kind of referenced Wolverine. But then I'm also thinking, because we know Hugh Jackman's going to be in Deadpool,
right?
That's official MCU, right? Could this be a X-23 reference?
It's possible,
because they like to swerve people like that,
right? They've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
So
because it was a female with claws.
Mm-hmm. It was very funny because she did the whole little. Like the whole, audio listeners are doing, where she throws her fist down and the makeup brushes come out. So,
what if it turned out that Nikki was X-20?
She's just been kind of watching the Hulks.
Yeah.
See, you never know. Listen, I'm going to Reddit.com here, but this is by user CostasPat257. Everything that Bruce predicted in episode 1 has come true. This is writing and foreshadowing in the She-Hulk. He says, you never have a choice with these names. We know that she didn't choose her name. It was chosen for her. Quote, weird stuff just kind of finds you when you're a Hulk. Every single episode, Titania, Intelligentsia, the weird dates, new jobs, superpowered clients. That's a foreshadow. He says, your blood is way too dangerous to get out in the world. The whole season's been, the bad guy's been trying to get her blood. You're going to have to change the way you live your life now. Stretchy clothes, always expecting danger, a completely different professional life, scrutiny under the public eye, 180 turn on the dating scene. Whether you like it or not, you're now a superhero. Matt Murdock, Ben Wong, they put in here, things like that. Denying half of your being is no way to live. This is, of course, the biggest one. Once She-Hulk realized she has no alter ego and then she could control her changing, she realized she could just never turn into She-Hulk ever again and keep denying her other half, which is why she was so dismissive of the things Bruce said. So I thought a lot of those were funny and very spot on. But we've got some fun ones. We're going to BuzzFeed.com by Nora Dominic for all of the Easter eggs that people have been spotting. First one was Leapfrog, who was a character from the Marvel Comics. And Luke Comics, Leapfrog did have his villainous moments, but at one point he joins the Defenders and even helps Daredevil after fighting him a few times. So, not a weird coincidence. When Matt Murdock enters the court, begins representing Luke Jacobson, he mentions that the Sokovia Accords have been repealed. We didn't know that. This is new. It's the first introduced to Captain America Civil War, and we knew about that. So I thought that was very interesting that, again, superheroes are popping up all over the place. So the Sokovia Accords have been appealed. I imagine it's because of Thanos. And, well, that was it. Let's see. That's not a big one. So when Matt officially introduces his superhero identity to Jen, you can hear the original Daredevil theme song from the Netflix series playing in the background. Nice touch. The Rogers billboard in the background is a nice touch to Hawkeye. Outside the lily pad on a telephone pole, you can spot a QR code. Like other episodes, QR code take it to a free comic. When Eugene is forcing Luke to create a new Leapfrog suit, he mentions wanting to go with all out for the next one. Suggests a suit with fancy AI technology and a British accent that talks to him. Of course, play on words the Iron Man suit with Jarvis with Paul Bettany. When Daredevil goes on lily pad to beat up, we get a classic Daredevil hallway scene. In Eugene's frog-themed lair, you can see a frog signal, kind of like the iconic bat signal, frog parking only sign, and of course, Frogger. So, very funny. I didn't even catch those. At the end of the fight, Daredevil and She-Hulk, Leapfrog jumps out the window and ends up breaking his legs, which is something that's happened to the character in the comics as well. Notably, in one comic, Foggy Nelson represents Leapfrog after he claims his shoes didn't work correctly, which is similar to his claims in She-Hulk. Hilarious. When Jen realizes that the episode is over, she mentions Red Hulk. In the comics, General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, who we've met in the MCU before, becomes Red Hulk. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen with that. Let's see. Also, at this moment, Jen also references getting fridge, which is likely a reference to the women are refrigerators trope, notably coined by writer Gail Simone in reference to comic books. It often refers to when female comic book characters are brutalized and or killed, often in gruesome fashion. The term stemmed from an issue of Green Lantern where his girlfriend is killed and shoved into a refrigerator. I did not know that. Then notice the Wolverine claws, and that is it. Some good Easter eggs for this episode. By far, though, one of my favorite episodes for the whole season. And not just, I don't think it was just because of Daredevil, but their quips of Matt Murdock, her lawyer scene with him, the dating scene, and then the end, like where she got real angry, her eyes got really green. I was like, yeah, this is what I'm in for, and I'm all about it. So,
do you think, because we still don't know who the leader is.
Nope. I think it's her brother, though, or her cousin. Brother or cousin? That's brother.
What if it's Pug?
We can't turn him into a bad guy again, okay? Every single show that he is in, he turns out to be the bad guy, and I can't stand it. Let him be good for once, Chris.
It could be the, what's his name? Her boss at the law firm.
Oh, is it G-H-and-K? But yeah, it could be him.
He would have the money to try and maybe put together his own team of Hulks. Maybe he becomes Red Hulk.
It's been theorized that the guy that tried dating her with all the money, he talked about $1 million he bought the Wakandan spear, which is something that we hadn't talked about yet either, which I'm like, that might set up the Black Panther stuff because she's talking about everything. It's not being protected anymore. Things are starting to get out in the world of their stuff. So that's about he could potentially be it. I like the brother potentially doing it and becoming Red Hulk because he gets the blood from her. Because we someone theorized that we talked about on the show of every time you see him he's in red, so it seems like he could be the new Red Hulk. And so I don't know. It's I just don't know who it is, but we get to find out potentially next episode. I don't think they'll leave us on a big cliffhanger of who the leader is, but I'm curious to see where we go from here with her.
But they may not do anything with it.
And leave it for.
season two.
Yeah, man, this is what a show though. Like I really, this is quickly becoming my favorite one. I'm curious to see
What's
what the
the
finale is, but
what's the movie debut for the Thunderbolts?
oh, it's 2024 or something like that.
Okay, so they presumably would come back with a season two of this before that.
Yeah, July 26th, 2024.
So I
Yeah,
guess
because they
they
could do
could,
the same thing, start filming end of this year, beginning of next year, and have it ready to go before then.
yeah,
Mm,
lead right into the movie where the Red Hulk is on the Thunderbolts.
right. Be untouchable,
There you
you
go.
know. See, lot
Yeah.
of things that we got going on here. Next week will be episode 9, season 1 finale. Hopefully, not the series finale for She Hulk. Really excited about this one, and I can't wait to see what everyone else thinks as well. Notable news this week. I've just got one, just happened today at New York Comic Con. Titans season 4, part 1 premieres November 3rd. So we're going to have 2 weeks of no shows. We'll figure out what to do about it for our show. We're going to fill in the gaps there. But we don't have to wait. We just have to wait 2 weeks and we'll get a show. But the thing that concerns me here, Chris, season 4, part 1 premieres November 3rd. Are they really going to do a part 1 and part 2 kind of thing?
Probably.
I don't like it. Hopefully we'll get some more news soon.
What
But
makes what makes me nervous about it's a lot of times when they do part one and part two, it's because it's a final season and they want to stretch it out.
oh, that hurts. Okay, let's not bring
Yeah.
that. Let's don't bring that into here, Chris. It's not outside the realm though. It's possible. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, I don't like that at all. All right, releases this week. Monday, October 10th, we get All American Proper and All American Homecoming on the CW. All Americans at 8. All American Homecoming's new season is at 9. And then Tuesday, October 11th, big week for the CW. The Winchesters, the prequel to Supernatural, premieres on Tuesday, October 11th. You watch Supernatural, didn't you? I didn't finish. I didn't finish the season. We didn't start or finish season 15, which is the final one. Any interest in the Winchesters?
Uh, it's probably one of those that I'll catch up on once the seasons
It's a
drop.
real big bingeable show.
Yeah, or I'll just pick it up on physical.
Yeah. Love me some physicals. But that's it. Nothing real crazy this week in TV.
Yeah. Uh, on to movies, I guess then.
I'm down.
So have you watched anything aside from what we watched for the shows this week for the show?
Nothing. I maybe caught a glimpse of Halloween Town when Stella was watching it, which was at her grandmother's while we were at a football game, but nothing but like 5 minutes of it. So I wouldn't even call that watching it, you know.
Right.
What about you, Chris? Anything?
I did. I watched some stuff.
Ooh.
So the first thing I watched was Cursed Films. For those on audio.
Oh, is this like the hauntings and stuff that happen on set and things like that?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's productions that have bad luck and things happen to them. So for those that are watching on audio, I was holding up the actual Blu-ray. It's not. I don't think this was expensive. It's a Shudder series,
Mm.
but every episode has a commentary track. I didn't have time to partake in those because each episode I think runs like 40
It's
minutes,
not bad.
45 minutes. Um, it touches on Poltergeist, The Omen, The Exorcist, The Crow, and Twilight Zone, the movie. In the case of Twilight Zone, the movie, that's the one where Vic Morrow was killed.
Mm.
A lot of people know his son Rob from the TV show Numbers. Um, he was also on Northern Exposure, I believe. Um, and he was in the film Quiz Show, which is one of the things that I saw him in the most. But in this little documentary episode about that movie, they actually have the clip
Oh.
where because what happened, they had a helicopter flying above them as part of the scene, but it was flying really low, and they had explosions going off. Well, the helicopter became unstable and crashed into this little lake or pond that they were filming in. And when it landed, the propeller blades came around and cut Vic Morrow and the two little girls in half.
Oh.
They actually have the clip all the way up, like the propeller blade comes around and they disappear.
Oh.
So
Oh.
it's that one in particular I would not watch if you're um, queasy about stuff like that.
Yeah.
They don't show it up close, obviously,
Right.
but it's just knowing what happened. Uh, Next up, I watched Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
What is
This is from
that?
it's from 1971. I It kind of plays a little bit like a TV movie, but the title's misleading because by the title you would think that there's a group of people trying to scare this woman to death, but that's not really what happens. So she's had some mental issues and she's leaving New York to live out in the country. Her husband and a friend of theirs is going because they bought a farm. And the people in this community are all bewitched.
Mm.
And there is a witch living on the farm. And she slowly turns or kills everybody in the town, right?
Mm.
For 71, it's pretty good. I think I gave it 3.5 on Letterboxd.
Mm.
The girl that plays the witch was on the Waltons TV show back in the day. But the thing about the film is she tries to get with each of the three. Like she starts coming on to Jessica, she starts coming on to the husband, she
All
starts
right.
coming to the friend. Uh, but it's so blatant with the husband that one night Jessica goes on to bed, and Emily, the name of the witch, is it's kind of back and forth. Is she a witch? Is she a vampire?
Mm.
Because she's not aged. I guess she's more of a vampire, really. Yeah, but she's bewitched them through her abilities. Let's say.
Mm.
But Jessica goes to bed one night as they're all sitting around the kitchen table, and then the friend of the couple gets up to go to bed, and he just point blank looks at the husband and says, "Take care of your wife," because he knows that there's something popping off between Emily and the husband.
Mm.
And so the husband feels guilty and goes to bed, then proceeds to tell Jessica he wants to send her back to New York to her therapist, and he can't do this
Mm.
anymore. So that snaps it, and it starts down the path to the finale of the movie. But it's pretty good. Um, it's a slow burn. It's not got a ton of action in it,
Yeah.
so definitely worth a watch though. And finally, somewhat tied to our main movie we watched this week, I watched 7852, which is a documentary on the just on the shower scene in Psycho.
Really?
78 frames, 52 seconds.
That was my question.
Yeah. So they interview Jamie Lee Curtis, Guillermo del Toro, Peter Bogdanovich, Danny Elfman, Mick Garris, Elijah Wood. They're all kind of among the group that makes comments and about the impact of that scene, what went on in filming it. They talked to the body double who was hired because she was a stripper. So they're
Oh,
like, she'll be comfortable being in
right.
this situation. Um, there's a funny little tidbit where she asked because they had her wearing something on the lower part that was flesh colored to cover, and it kept falling off because of the water and the way she was moving around in the shower, right? So she just looked at Hitchcock at one point and said, "Can I just take this off?" Because she was having to kept having to kind of stop the scene and pull it up, and he just looked at her almost horrified and was like, "No, you can't. You have to leave that."
Yeah.
That's another really good documentary. This is from IFC, the Independent Film Channel. Um, hour and a half, hour
Stop
and a half documentary
on
on
just
one
one scene.
scene in a movie.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, but very iconic. Um, so worth the watch. So for review this week, we reviewed Hitchcock's The Birds, but we also decided to throw in Werewolf by Night on the Marvel side of things. So let's do Werewolf by Night first.
Okay. And we are
Uh,
going to do full on spoilers, ladies and gentlemen, for this.
yeah, and for that, I'm actually going to have to pull up the synopsis.
Werewolf by Night by
Um,
Michael Giacchino. He is a classic. He does a lot of the music for a lot of things. I'm trying to like he's won Oscars and Emmys. He did Up. He did Ratatouille, Rogue One, Star Trek, The Batman. I mean, he's done Spider-Man: Far From Home. He's done it all. No Way Home, The Incredibles. I mean, Coco. I could go on and on. He's done. If you've got like a
Ooh,
favorite Disney property, he's probably done it.
Coco was good. I like Coco.
Mm-hmm. He killed it.
Um, so the plot went as follows. I'm just pulling this straight from Wikipedia, so there's no one to give credit to. The community. We'll give credit to the community.
There you go.
Following the death of Ulysses Bloodstone, 5 experienced monster hunters, including Jack Russell, are summoned by Ulysses' widow Verussa to Bloodstone Manor, where they are instructed to participate in a competitive hunt to determine their new leader, who will wield the powerful Bloodstone. Ulysses' estranged daughter Elsa also arrives to compete for the Bloodstone, despite Verussa warning her against doing so. The hunt begins in a large maze on the grounds of the manor with a captured monster that's been implanted with the Bloodstone as the hunter's quarry. Following an encounter with Elsa, Russell finds the monster, Ted, a friend that Russell was searching for and intended to rescue, while Elsa fights and kills one of the other hunters. Russell leaves Ted to carry out his escape plan and reunites with Elsa while she's hiding in a mausoleum. The two agree to work together to free Ted and obtain the Bloodstone. Ted kills another of the hunters, and Russell destroys the outer wall of the maze so they can escape. Ted flees into the forest after Elsa removes the Bloodstone from him. However, the Bloodstone reacts violently to Russell's touch, indicating he is also a monster, as Verussa and the other hunters arrive. Verussa captures Russell and Elsa, places them in a cage, and uses the Bloodstone to trigger Russell's transformation into his werewolf form. The werewolf breaks the cage, slaughters Verussa's guards, but Verussa subdues him using the Bloodstone. Elsa also escapes, kills the 2 remaining hunters, and stops Verussa from killing the werewolf. The werewolf attacks Elsa, but spares her upon recognizing her and leaves the manor. A furious Verussa tries to kill Elsa, but is incinerated by Ted, who then leaves to find Russell while Elsa takes possession of the manor and the Bloodstone. The next day, Russell awakens in the forest in his human form with Ted watching over him and is pleased to learn Elsa is safe. And that's the extent of it. It's only, I think the counter on Disney Plus said like 53, 54
Yeah.
minutes. So it moves fast. It's in black and white. They do this great little transition at the end when we're going to that next day with Russell waking up. Um, and it's a Wizard of Oz
Yeah, I was
homage.
about to ask you if you caught on to that.
You get Somewhere Over the Rainbow playing, and they go from black and white to color.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was very cool. Ted was my favorite in
The
the
man thing in a film, Chris. Come on,
yeah.
and done very well, of course, with the Marvel Studios MCU title with it. I mean, just absolutely perfect. That was awesome.
I did love the fact that right before when they're in the cage, right before he knows he's going to be forced to turn, he jumps on over toward Elsa and he just starts sniffing her, and she's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, it was
It,
great. He's like,
it's
I gotta
so
know your scent.
yeah, I have to recognize, and it works. That's why he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't kill her at the end.
He says, "Look me in the eyes." He says, "Never break eye contact." And the whole time, and man, this was such a great. It was very very violent, a lot more than I was expecting, a lot more than other Marvel properties. A lot of blood, but of course it's all in black and white, so it's really can't really tell. They had the cool little where he was transforming to a werewolf. They had the whole where you focus on the actress, and then it's got flashing, and then you can see him growing on the silhouette on the wall. Thought that was really cool, really well done. And I didn't. I think the only thing I have complained about, well, there's two things. One, the maze. I feel like that set piece they could have done a whole lot more too than what they did.
Yeah.
And then the length of it. I could have watched a whole film just on this because like I was entranced. It's Marvel Studios, so of course I'm going to be. But I really enjoyed it, and I wonder if we're going to get more of like Elsa or Russell or the Man Thing. I don't know. No one's really said anything, but
If you'll remember a few years ago, Universal planned to reboot their monsters line. They were going
mm-hmm.
to do like the dark. Oh, what were they going to call it?
Oh, I know we talked about that. It's the see,
It was dark something, right?
right
I
dark
can't. I can't
dark
remember, but
universe.
the dark universe.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if Marvel's going to take that same concept and run with it and kind of
Do a new
Blade will be
presentation
part of it.
every
Like
holiday.
I could easily see Elsa showing up in Blade.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking we were going to see some more vampire stuff. I thought it was very cheeky though, because they were all asking how many kills you got. The one of the guys says, "Hey, did you ever deal with that thing?" He says, "You ever killed one of those?" Or he said, "Did you kill it?" He said, "No, but I came into a couple of encounters." He goes, "I fought it a couple of times," which you didn't know by then he was the werewolf. At least I did catch on to it. And he was talking about the vampire. And I was like, very cheeky, the whole werewolf versus vampire thing. I was like, very cheeky, very well done on that. They had all sorts of stuff like that. Also, at the very beginning, they walked down a hallway, and it's got a bunch of like hieroglyphics and pictures on it. Gore the God Butcher as one of those. So it's like, that's very cool. Don't know where this fits into the universe. So,
There were some similarities just in the performance, especially with the trying to blow up the wall. That was very reminiscent for me of Moon Knight,
yes.
where he just kept panicking, like he couldn't get the thing to stick on the wall so
Right.
that the wall would blow, and he would run and hide behind
He
the
just
rock
threw it
and
at
it
the
would fall
wall.
off,
It's
and
just
then
so dumb.
very um it was very Mark.
Right.
Was it Mark that was
Yeah, Mark was the. Yeah. Mark?
uh,
No, Steven.
no, Steven. It was very Steven
Mm-hmm.
in that moment. So very cool. I would definitely watch it. I know they dropped it just as a Halloween special, but I think it's going to have more of an impact in the MCU.
Yeah. And it's gotten like so many great ratings on it too. A lot of people love
Yeah,
this little presentation. And I mean, me being one of them, I think I gave it 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. So,
it's it on Letterboxd. I
yeah, it
didn't
is.
look.
Mm.
Okay.
Did my
Um,
classic upload it when we talk about it thing.
so that was Werewolf by Night, and I don't know if they'll do. I'm assuming this might be a tradition that they start
I'm
doing
okay
something
with it. I
every
like it.
October, and they'll just change the character and the story,
Right.
you know, each year. Um, I think our next special is the Guardians Christmas special, which is a
I
takeoff
forget
on
that that's
the
you too.
it's a takeoff on the Star Wars holiday special that was so bad back in
We don't talk about that one.
2006. Um, on to the main movie that we reviewed, or that we're reviewing this week, is Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Now, I'd seen this before. I saw this once when I was really young, and I've seen it a few times over the years. Um, and when I was really young, there were a couple of instances sitting on the front porch at my mom's house. She had this big glass window,
Here we go.
and a bird would just fly headfirst into it and drop and shake and die, right? So as a kid, I kind of developed this fear
Mm,
of
that
birds.
was my question.
between the movie and witnessing those two things happen, I was just like, okay, these are some crazy creatures that are just no. That
Yeah.
the little ones that you see out don't really bother me.
Mm-mm.
It's like the bigger ones
The
that are just
crows, the seagulls, the.
yeah, I can do without them.
Oh man. Hey, so did we ever find out, or is there a sequel to why all the birds are going crazy?
There is a sequel.
Okay.
It was done in the 80s, I think. It's called Land's End.
Okay.
Um, I watched it once and I haven't watched it again, so I can't recall specifically. Um, so the basic story here is this, and I'm gonna need to pull the names up here so that I don't want to mess the names up. I can't help it, Tyler.
I didn't realize Alfred
Um,
Hitchcock was in this. Like,
yeah, he makes the cameo at the very beginning. You'll see him in the background walking his dogs
very, very Stanley of him.
out of the pet store. Um, and actually, that opening scene where we first see Tippi Hedren, and someone whistles and she turns around right before she goes into the pet store.
Mm-hmm.
Hitchcock wrote that specifically because he discovered her in a commercial where the same thing happened. She did a commercial for something where someone whistled off screen and she turned like that and smiled. So he said, "We're going to do the same thing."
Hmm.
But Rod Taylor is in this as Mitch Brenner. Jessica Tandy is Lydia, Mitch's mother. Uh, did not, I mean, I've seen her before, but she did not look like the Jessica Tandy that we all know from later stuff.
Okay.
'Cause she was, like driving Miss Daisy and stuff like that. She was
Yeah.
obviously much older. So Suzanne Plachette was Annie, Mitch's ex-girlfriend and the school teacher. She went on to have, I think her biggest thing she did later on was the Bob Newhart show, where she played his wife, Tippi Hedren. Of course, starred in this. Um, so we see, and she's Melanie Daniels, which is interesting because Tippi Hedren's daughter is Melanie Griffith.
Hmm.
So, um, but we see Melanie Daniels go into a pet store. She's going in to order I think it was a macaw
Mm-hmm.
or a mina. It was either that or a mina bird. It started with the
I
M.
think Mina. I think that sounds.
Mina.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's going into the pet store, and while she's in there, Mitch comes in, and he recognizes her, but she doesn't realize it at first because he's a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
so he saw her in court, and her father owns a huge newspaper, and so they have this little back and forth where she pretends to be a worker at the store, and he pretends to go along with it, and then the whole ruse is undone before he heads out of the store. But he came in looking for two lovebirds because his sister, who's played by Veronica Cartwright, is it's her birthday coming up, and he wanted to get her two little birds. And so after he leaves the store, birdless, she orders two lovebirds.
Very
Melanie
cheeky.
does. She orders two lovebirds and decides she'll take them to him. Um, Takes him to his apartment, finds out, of course, because her dad owns a newspaper, she knows all these investigative reporters and everything. So she finds out where he lives, takes the birds, was going to leave them outside his door, and his neighbor's like, no, he's gone for the weekend. So she finds out where, and she drives up the coast or down the coast to the town that he's visiting, where his mother and his little sister live. And it's while she's there, she meets all these different townspeople, including the school teacher that he has a history with, and meets his little sister for the first time. And gradually, incidents start to happen. Like she takes a boat so that she can leave the birds at his house. And this is a sign of the times because she takes a boat over,
A little
waits for
dinky.
him, waits for him to leave the house. And when she sees him leave the house, she runs in and goes in, leaves the
Oh,
birds
she
on the
breaks in.
table.
Well, we're just going to call it what it is. She breaks into the house.
I mean, the door's unlocked, but this is a time when people left their doors unlocked, so it wasn't a weird
And
thing. But
your neighbors across the hallway of your apartment tell people exactly where you've been and where you are and where you're going. In San
yeah,
Francisco now, people would not even look at you, wouldn't do anything. I don't care what you're
no,
doing.
no. So she waits for his reaction. She goes back out onto the bay in the boat and watches. And when he sees a boat, he gets his binoculars and looks, notices her. So he drives around to the dock she's going to have to return to. And it's as she's coming into the dock, a seagull swoops down and like nips her head
Yeah,
with its claws.
very,
And she,
very randomly.
yeah, but this is the start. This is the first attack, and it comes in waves, and it gets bigger and
Hmm.
bigger, and more birds are showing up. And it's not just one type of bird. In fact, there's a character later in the diner who is it an ornithologist that
Hmm.
is studies birds, and she said no, different species of birds would not ever coordinate like that. It wouldn't. That's just not done. Well, they are.
Right.
And,
Very, very clearly.
yeah, and she eats her words later. She's one of the people hiding in the hallway at the diner.
Hmm.
Um, and I kept the first time I saw it, of course, I didn't think a lot about it because I was a kid. When I went back later and started watching it, I kept waiting for him to turn on her
Hmm.
because like she comes to town and this stuff starts
Well,
happening.
they even one of the ladies says, "No, what happened? This started when you got here."
Yeah,
And I was like, "Oh."
yeah. I mean, they're not wrong,
Right.
but she didn't bring it with her.
Mm-mm.
Um, so as these attacks continue, I don't think at first anybody dies. People are just freaked out and they're getting hurt. And
Right.
I think the first death that we get is Mitch's mother's neighbor, Dan.
Who sells the feed
Yeah.
to
So
the chickens?
she goes over to talk to him or something, and as she goes in, it's quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And then she sees the teacups broken.
Yep.
And then she looks around and she notices other stuff in disarray, and then she opens what turns out to be his bedroom door, and there's a seagull kind of plastered to the window where it
Mm-hmm.
just flew head first in and stuck. And there's a blackbird on the bed, dead. And
Right.
then she looks over, and sitting against the wall is Dan. She sees his foot first, and then she looks up to the body, and his eyes have been pecked out.
Very violently. I mean, for a
Yeah,
1963 film, that was very ghastly. And very,
yeah,
like, makeup department did a real good job on that. Because I was like, oh,
yeah.
no,
Yep.
don't like that.
Yeah, no CGI,
Nothing.
right? And it looked like hollowed out holes in
Yep.
this guy's head. So very good makeup and special effects on that one. But these attacks and it's funny to talk about the movie because there are little details, but there's no plot details beyond these attacks just keep coming.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mitch and Melanie get closer and closer, right? Until they're a couple.
Right.
Odd that it kind of happens through this, but it does. Um, but Annie, the school teacher, played by Suzanne Plachette, she gets killed
Mm-hmm.
by
On
the
her
end of the movie.
steps.
Yeah,
Mm.
they heard the explosion. So this guy putting gas in his car gets attacked, and
Hilariously, by the way.
he
He cracked me
freaks
up.
out and he drops the hose. And back then they didn't have the safety
Yeah.
feature of shutting off, so it just continues to pour. And as it does, it goes downhill and across the street to the car of this guy that had been in the diner. He's out there smoking,
Always.
and they're screaming at him, "Don't drop the match!" Well, he looks up without putting the match out. And while he's looking at them trying to figure what they're saying, the match burns him.
Mm-hmm.
So he reacts and he drops it and he goes up in
Kills
flames.
himself. Explodes the gas station next spot next
Yeah.
next door. Just
It was, but that's how Annie dies. She
Yeah.
hears the explosion. She's watching Kathy, Mitch's sister. So she goes outside to see what happened. Kathy comes with her. The birds attack. She pushes Kathy back in the house, but she can't get back in.
Mm-mm.
So she's killed. They don't show much. She's just lying
Yeah,
there.
laying dead with her eyes up. Weirdly enough, eyes weren't picked out. So,
No, which makes me wonder how she died.
right.
Because, I mean, a bird attack could be bad, but it,
Heart attack,
she,
maybe? I don't.
maybe. I mean,
I would. I mean, that'd be me with my AFib over here, you know?
it, it'd be, it'd definitely be freaky. But we never get, that's one thing about this Hitchcock movie, that we never get a resolution.
Mm-mm. They just kind
It
of
just,
drive out.
they drive away and the birds have taken over the town.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I did read, I think it was on IMDb, when this movie came out in London, Hitchcock had it planned so that when people came out of the theater, he had speakers in the trees. And when they came out, the sound of birds and birds' wings came out over the speakers,
What
and it
is
freaked
wrong with
these
this
people
guy?
out.
I would have lost it.
So he just added to the experience. But I mean,
Oh, God, I would have
thing,
lost
I
it.
think for me, the thing that makes it such an effective movie is in the very same vein that makes Nightmare on Elm Street effective, right? It's birds are everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We can't get away from them. We're going to encounter them. And it's like with Nightmare on Elm Street, you have to go to sleep. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's horror movies about these characters that are in certain locations. We all have to sleep. So you can't avoid
Mm-mm.
the bad guy, so to speak.
Mm.
I like that. I I don't know if I've rated this one yet on Letterboxd. For me, this is like it's a 5 star.
Mm.
I love this movie, but I'm curious as to your thoughts because this was a first time watch for you.
Yes. Like a lot of these older movies, it's very because this was like a almost it goes hour and 58-minute movie, something like that. It was
Uh-huh.
an hour and 50 something. But a lot of things really drug on for me. Trying to think of what the boat scenes for one. I think we have 5 or 6 different angles and maybe 6 minutes of her driving with the boat. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we don't need this filler content. Um, I really want a resolution, and I really want to know why these birds are acting the way they are, because that's how our movies and TV shows are now. You
Hmm.
you presented a problem, the problem gets solved, and we find out why the problem was there, but we didn't really get that in this film. I think I gave it 2.5 or 3 stars, just because it was for a 1963 movie. The CGI, not the CGI, the special effects, and the just with the birds were really good. Like the love interest between Mitch and Miss Daniels, I really was into. Like the whole mom not really liking everything. The school found out the school teacher moved from San Francisco. I was like, ooh, there's something going on here. I'm here for this drama. Didn't really get a resolution to that because she died, but she was good people anyways, and didn't hold it against Melanie. Um, but like the special effects with the birds were really cool. I felt like, especially like when they would flock into rooms, you could obviously tell they were fake, and they were doing special effects with them. But then you still had real birds outside the houses and outside perched and things like that. And I was like, that's a lot of crows on this playground. Like, it was a lot of crows, a murder of them, if you will. Um,
Here's the thing. I think every scene in the movie they mixed in some real birds.
mm.
Hmm.
So like even like when like at the end inside the house and everything, I guess I would do special effects, but still have actual birds in there. Oh, see, that makes me want to go back and look and spot the real ones. I might do that this week. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it was. I think it because I've heard of this movie from a lot of people. It's obviously a classic, and Jamie even she's seen it before. Um, but yeah, I thought it was good. The Mitch throwing Melanie's like Rome stories in her face and all that. Like there were a lot of layers to their story. Like, we find out that he's just a lawyer. We didn't know about the whole newspaper thing. Then we found out about the newspaper thing. Well, then we found out that her friends pushed her nakedly into the thing, which that was what was published by a rival newspaper. And then you add his girlfriend from San Francisco moved here. The mom didn't like her. I really enjoyed all that aspect of it. And yeah, I think I gave this a 3 stars for me, which isn't bad, but I'm liking seeing all of these different Alfred Hitchcock movies every year as we go through these lists. It's just kind of cool to see where his mind's at when he does these things.
He's got some really good stuff. A lot of his stuff is typically suspense. It's not really horror.
Right.
But it's still, some of them are more mystery as well.
Yeah.
They're fun watches.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't bad, and I thought it was good. Just drug out a little bit too long for me on certain things. Like, there were the boat scene is specific because that's what I remember. I was like, okay, all right, we're about to be done with this. Oh nope, there's another scene. Oh, all right, different camera angle, and we're driving. Picture the house, picture her, picture the house, picture her. I was like, okay, let's wrap this up a little bit, but just little small stuff like that.
Yeah. The first time that I saw it and knew what I was watching, that scene where they've boarded up the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she goes up the stairs and Mitch is asleep, and I thought she was going to find the mom dead.
Yes.
But she goes in the room and there's just a hole in the roof.
Right.
It's full of birds.
Oh, it was like that stuff that suspensey stuff gets me. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, this could be anything. He could be leading us a different way, and I thought the mom was behind it all the whole time anyways. Convenient, She's like, oh, I'm going to control these birds. She brought lovebirds to my house. Not today, sister. But no, that didn't happen.
Yeah. So next week, our film is Halloween Ends.
For the 5th time.
It's going to be brand new, so don't expect full spoilers. Mm-hmm. But we'll give our general impressions of it. Then after that, we have Day Shift, Scream 2022, and we're going to wrap up with what some people consider the greatest horror anthology ever in Creepshow.
We will see, Chris. We will put it to the test, buddy.
Curious if you'll like it or Trick or Treat better.
Really? Which I need to watch that sometime soon, too. Love me some Trick or Treat.
Yep. So let's get to our news. Our only notable news. Black Panther Wakanda Forever has a new trailer.
And we are going to watch it here, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're an audio listener, I apologize. You would hear it, and you'll hear our thoughts on it after and during it. Let me see. Go live here for you. And there we go. Let me go to our certain scene here. Press this button there, and boom. There's my face. There's your face. And let me know, Chris, if you can hear it.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
We're good.
And you hadn't seen this yet, right?
Uh-uh.
Only the most broken people can be great leaders.
Chills every time I watch this thing.
His people did not call him general or king. They called him Kukul Khan, the feather serpent god. Killing him will risk eternal war.
He's coming for the surface world.
We know what you whisper. They have lost their protector. Now is our time to strike.
so cool.
Show them who we are.
Couple things. So I'm pretty sure that is Shuri
Yeah, it's definitely a female.
because of this markings here. It's her
Yeah.
markings from the first movie and even at the beginning. So everyone's pretty sure it's Shuri, which, we've already had our thoughts on that and all. But there's also been things that people said that it's going to be, or multiple people are going to be Black Panther throughout the movie until they find out the one. So this could easily be a misdirect,
Yeah.
which is what I am hoping for.
And again, it's Marvel. They film stuff like this just for trailers.
Yep.
That scene may not even be in the movie.
Right. But Chris, this
Riri Williams.
Oh my god! Like this scene in particular, her building her suit, right, and then this scene where you even hear the like you hear from the Iron Man suits is so good, man.
The legacy of Tony Stark. Lives.
God, I love it. And then M'Baku talking, and then him beating his chest right there. I am so in on this movie, and
And of course, Namor.
like with him being the Aztecian god or an Aztecian hero, I guess is what they're doing. So instead of a mutant, and like his winged feet, and Kukulkan, the winged god, the winged serpent god. Man, it's gonna be so good. I really can't wait for this film. And it'll be a month from tomorrow. So
Yeah.
Can't wait.
It's gonna be good. Releases this week. Halloween Ends is in cinemas and on Peacock October the 14th. You can watch it either way.
So you've got no excuse not to watch it, is what this means.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, look, they've got to fund the next 21 movies.
Yeah,
so.
this would be like the fifth time Halloween Ends, but who knows? They gotta get that money in somehow, some way.
You know what I would like to see them do? Because Carpenter's original vision for Halloween was to tell a different story that happened on Halloween with every installment. I'd love to see them now go to that.
Right.
Keep the Halloween name, but just Halloween, and then whatever the subtitle is for the.
Would you keep it Michael Myers or something completely different?
Yeah, let him
bring a new Halloween legend in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, man, Chris. So let's jump into video games. Don't really have anything. The Super Mario Brothers movie teaser is out. You get Chris Pratt's first voice. You get Charlie Day. You get Jack Black as Bowser, and Keegan Mike and Key for Toad. But it's like a minute. Doesn't really show anything. We would show it on here, but it really does not show anything. It's if you want to hear their voices, watch it. But other than that,
I think we hear a little bit of an Italian accent.
That's been the big debate. Is it Chris Pratt just doing his normal voice? But you said like Lana Pierce saying, and you're watching her reaction, like you could hear it if you really listen for it. I've watched it twice now, and all I can think about is Jack Black as Bowser.
He is amazing.
Yes, and like when I hear Bowser now, it's all I think about is Jack Black. And I'm here for it. So, Chris, you been playing anything this week?
Just my usual. I'm probably gonna try tonight to get back into some Tell Me Why.
I need to play that too at some point. Overwatch 2 came out last week, or this past week. I've been playing it this weekend since I got back home, and it's just Overwatch, just kind of updated and everything. Everyone says the same source code and everything, but I am highly addicted to it again, and it's because I love Overwatch esports. I've got from when I went down to one of the matches in Atlanta over here and stuff. Oh, I love it, man. It's so good. I just want to play more. It's one of those that's hooked. I'm hooked now, and everything I think about is Overwatch. I just want to play more. But, life gets in the way. Notable new releases this week: The Darkest Tales, PC, Xbox, and Switch, October 13th. Dragon Ball The Breakers, it's like a Dead by Daylight, the Predator series, the Jason Voorhees series that they put out with the Dragon Ball. It's on PC, PS4, Xbox, and Switch. Comes out October 14th. No More Heroes 3 on everything but the Switch on October 14th. PGA Tour 2K23 Standard Edition, everything besides the Switch on October 14th. And then Scorn, PC and Xbox Series on Game Pass October 14th. Don't know if I'm going to play it. It's a horror-esque shooter, and it looks really gross. A lot of phallic symbols in that one.
Man, that PGA Tour, everybody's been waiting on that game.
For real? Oh. I don't know. Don't keep my ear to the ground on that one. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been this week's episode of the Nerdwide Podcast. Listen, we didn't have a whole lot of news, but we're still at a whole hour. We had a lot of fun talking about our stuff, though. Finally got Daredevil, so that's all I care about. I can't wait for the finale next week. Halloween ends, technically a finale next week as well. Yeah, we'll talk. We'll maybe put on Twitter or talk next week about what we're going to do in those 2 weeks prior. We don't have anything to recap because I hope it's not a dry news week like it has been this week. But we'll find out next week when we get there. Don't forget to share on all your favorite social media platforms, and forget to rate and review this on your podcasting app, and give us a thumbs up and subscribe on YouTube.com. Social media, you can follow Nerdwide on Twitter at nerd_wide. You can follow me personally at Ty_Haynes. You can follow Chris at MavTN7. If you go on Facebook.com, search Nerdwide Podcast, or just Nerdwide will be the first thing that pops up. Like us on there, follow us on there. Those two ways on Twitter and Facebook are the first way you know when the episode is published, and we would greatly appreciate it. As always, this has been the Nerdwide Podcast. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and we cannot wait to share with you our thoughts on the finale of She-Hulk and Halloween Ends next week. We'll talk to you then.